Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony, the Sugar Daddy, I want to call you, Sugar Baggy Burt.
Sugar Daddy, I like the Sugar Daddy.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm alive. This week was hell for work, but I'm glad I am talking some movies today, my guy.
Me too. It's funny how it works because, man, I need to talk these horror movies tonight. This is what's going to guide me through the rest of this weekend, I think, with energy-wise, because this is a big weekend for me. I always really watch a lot of horror movies through this week and, well, all of October, and it's been great to share them with you, my man.
Yes, Tony is in a spooky cave, Sam. Remember I told you off air how that fly was let in this house from the outside? It's like mocking me. It's like staring at me right now.
Is it Jeff? Be funny. It's Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, I almost squished the son of a...
Or it's the one from Beetlejuice. Help me! The one that like goes into the thing.
Well, would he use a nougat bar to get it? So we have a... I'm sorry, are we boring you? What? Are we? No, you don't bore me. No, anyway. So we have a action-packed show for you today. We're going back over our horror picks for... some monsters that probably aren't well known, some that might be well known, that we kind of went through some deep cuts here and some that aren't so much deep cuts. But it's all horror this month for us. And we're doing the old format, which helps me out a lot. And I know it helps Tone out a lot because those deep dives take a lot of notes to do.
They do. And
if you haven't noticed, we're doing a new blog every day by Tony on the website. And we're doing a new video every day on the YouTube by me on the website. Be sure to check those out for the month of October. But Tone, let's get into our first segment, my friend, with what we have been watching this week. If I can find it, there you go.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
What you been watching this week, my man?
Two movies that I like to dig out right around Halloween time that definitely are spooky in different ways. The first one is Stoker, which stars Nicole Kidman is the main star in it. Also in the movie is Matthew Good, who does a very, very, very good job. The movie came out in 2013. The main star in the film is Mia Wasikowska. Does a really awesome job, but it's kind of an underrated gothic scary movie. The main plot of the film is pretty much there is a kind of a psychological undertone, a thriller. She is living with her mom and her uncle comes and stays with her, and it just keeps getting creepier and creepier and creepier. This movie, I fell upon it like 7-8 years ago. I really enjoy this one. Have you ever seen this one yet?
To be honest with you, looking at these two films, no, I have not seen either of them.
That's why I was going with tonight. My goal always is trying to get you, Mr. Horror Guy, into something that you might not have seen. The film work on Stoker is really, really awesome by Park Chan-wook. Does really, really good work, has done other movies. If you are familiar with Snowpiercer, he is the producer for that movie. But also just really, really good work. You may be familiar with Old Boy. I think you are. He was the director of that movie. But this is just really, really good. It's kind of like, it's not like it's more psychological than it is like bloody scares, but it's actually a really good performance by everybody. Um, the next movie that I have here is The Tripper. And boy, if you've never seen this, Jump, I am really shocked because this is really something that is right up your alley. First of all, it is directed by David Arquette. Let's just get started there. Um, let's also get started that the cast is just really out of this world of ridiculousness. Everyone from Paul Rubens to the amazing Thomas Jane, just a lot of different people. But the plot in this movie is ridiculous because what it is there's a hippie festival going on, and a killer who is dressed up like Ronald Reagan is going to go to this place and, well, commit the same kind of things you would see in every other awesome slasher movie that you've ever seen. And well, it's kind of like what I'm going to show you right now. It's again because Ronald Reagan was against the hippie movement and all of the hippies. So again, that's the whole like funny unplot going on underneath in this movie. Because the Tripper obviously is a hippie festival. But it is political season, and if you're looking for some political ridiculous horror, the Tripper is definitely worth it.
Just after that clip, we kind of had me at the directed by David Arquette. So.
Well, I know it's so out there. It was. I know you've heard of Bubba Hotep.
Oh yes.
This is right around like, and obviously if you don't know someone, I mean Bubba Hotep, unless you were an awesome movie horror fan, it wasn't like playing really big at all your movie theaters. This is kind of what that was. It was just something else that it fell upon my lap. It just was weirdly fell upon. It wasn't like I even like sought this out, but when I saw all these people in this movie. And I definitely think you should check it out because it's definitely ridiculous.
Definitely will check them out, both of them. So this week, I had a lot of time to record and write. I had some videos in the can, but I've been uploading daily. So while I'm writing the script and thinking about my clips in my head, how I'm going to have the video flow, I usually have something on in the background. I don't like to watch movies when I'm doing editing because I tend to start watching the movie more. I usually have it's just something I do. So I put on Roseanne, the old Roseanne series from the 80s to 97. I binged through it. It's 20-minute episodes. I got through it very quickly. Probably the best Halloween episodes of any show at the time that I have ever seen. And surprisingly, since we're talking political, the show is very, very left-leaning. Like extremely left-leaning for its time. She talked about a lot of things that were like LGBTQ rights, women's rights, the poor, the economy, how it affects people who live in under means, stuff like that. Like it was really, really considering how she is now, it's just crazy how she did the 180. But it's still a funny show. And I can see why it was so popular. I remember growing up, it was a weekly thing. My aunt watched the show religiously. And when it was on Nick at Night, I watched it. And now I have it on Peacock, so I binged through it. So that kind of got me going into The Conners. Not Roseanne-esque. I'm not really a big fan of Sarah Gilbert being the main star, but it's not bad. So I'm going through that. I'm in season 3. Have you watched either of these, Tone?
I mean, my mom. These Halloween episodes were like my parents' favorite things. We would play them all the time, and I would dream that these were like my house or the Halloween parties that I would have. I mean, Dan was just so cool, and their costumes every single year, every single episode, it was like, what were they going to do this year? The one season they had the haunted house that they went through in the front, like so many cool things. And I've watched The Conners, I think up until the last season or two. I just kind of got burnt out. It started out pretty good, but it kind of like, as you stated, it's almost like it reminds me a lot of Freddy's Dead when they keep going around in the circles and they're like, wow, we just keep going around in the same circle. That's what this Conners is. But man, those Roseanne Halloween episodes are great.
Yeah. The Conners has some good ones too, but like their old school Roseanne, like you said, the haunted house one, just the costumes too. Becky dressing up as the Prince, the teenager who had like the prom queen who has half her body basically like mangled. Darlene having the alien come out of her stomach, stuff like that was kind of cool. So if you haven't seen those episodes, check them out. They're on Peacock. Caitlin says the Connors and the Bad Roseanne made the show. Yeah, she really did. I watched the last season of it, which they consider season 10 of Roseanne, and I thought it was pretty. It was kind of cool to see them in newer 20 years later. But don't tweet stupid shit; you won't get canceled. But next thing I watched, and I know our guest has watched this as well, so I want to hear her insight on it before we get to what she goes through for her segment. But I finally saw Smile 2. Well, it came out and I went and saw it. This is a movie I've been anticipating for a long time since it was announced. I was a huge fan of Smile 1. I thought Smile 1 was something unique. It gave you bits and pieces of what the villain or protagonist in the film was, but it didn't really explain it completely, which I thought was kind of awesome, that it kind of left it ambiguous to where you had to kind of put pieces together. It gave you just enough to kind of figure out that it was some kind of entity that latches on to you and basically makes you commit suicide to pass on to another host. And this I thought was, looking at the previews, was with the pop star that she kind of reminded me a lot of Lady Gaga. I don't know if that's where pop's going or what, but she kind of gay Lady Gaga vibes off her. This one wasn't as great as the first one. I didn't agree too much with the ending of it, but I did enjoy it. I thought this one looked a little more left a lot of like questions, too many questions for me to the first one was kind of clear cut. This one was a little more like left a lot of things open for me to question, like certain things that were happening in it. But I did enjoy it though. So I do encourage people to go see it. It wasn't a horrible movie. It was enjoyable. I just prefer the first one better. But I mean, that's how it usually is for sequels. It's usually the second one's not going to be greater than the first one. But have you seen this one yet, Tone?
No, but what I usually do, especially in situations like this, when I don't think I'm going to make to see it, and I read all about what happens, and then I'll forget it when I actually see it, and then I'll be like, "Oh, that is it." But I read the ending, and the ending really left me with like like not in a like, "Wow, that's a cool way," but like, "This is kind of ridiculous." But it sounds kind of like that's where you kind of feel like with the ending. But I like everything else. The trailer makes it look really cool, like all of the other stuff in the movie. The first one was probably one of the better horror movies in the last 5-6 years, and I'm sure when I check it out, it's going to be pretty good.
The Happening? No, it's nowhere near as bad as that, Sam. Sam says, "Don't tell that Larry that sequels aren't better," and also the plot sounds like The Happening. No, it's not really like The Happening. I would watch the first one, Sam. I think you would enjoy that one. That one was this one's not as enjoyable too, but I like the first one. But yeah, Tone, if you get a chance, check it out. I do like that they kind of went big for it, with the whole story. I just didn't like the way they kind of wrapped it up at the end, but because it's without giving too much away, it kind of leaves you where you go from here, kind of like that feeling. That's the way I got.
That's kind of what, just by reading it, like, what do you like?
Yeah, but if you haven't seen it, check out those are the Smile movies are some awesome movies, especially if you're like a horror fan. They give you a unique look at different, stories for horror. And if you've been listening to this show, you know that we're all about unique and original kind of stories, or taking a concept and making your own thing out of it. And that's what they were doing at these films. I hate remakes. I'm tired of remakes. Do something new, and this is something new. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to check them out. So that is what we've watched this week. Let us know what you've watched over at the Twitters or X or whatever Black MAGA Elon decides to do. Check us out on Facebook, and also leave your comments to the YouTube and let us know any movies that you've watched that you want to let us know about. It is from a woman's perspective, and old men telling her to smile all the time. Yes, Sam, it is.
Is it from you?
And she constantly gets mad, Sam. She constantly gets mad, and it's just ridiculous.
I'm not mad.
No, but that's what we watched this week. Let's know what you watched. Tone, did you want to go to our promo for Gordo, or you want to go straight into our segment?
Let's go to our promo for Gordo.
Okay, my friend. So if you have not been listening to this pod or the 108 or the Chicago Sports Bums, or the Asscast. Our buddy Yo Soy Muy Gordo has had a couple issues health wise, and he's going to have a big procedure coming up soon. And he just needs some help with his medical bills. So every pod is doing something different in terms of Venmo and whatnot. We decided to collaborate with Gordo and get this cool shirt out called Gummy Strong for him. It's a purple shirt with a penguin with a long beard that Gordo is known for, along with the Gummy Strong hashtag. It's over at the Sadistic Penguin Studios merch site. Is he getting a hair transplant? He might be. He might be. I'm dropping the link inside the chat right now.
Hopefully it's not like body bags.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. The aliens have come out from. But there's a link in the chat. All proceeds from this go to Gordo, so we're not making any money off this. It's all towards Gordo to help him with his medical bills. And it's up on their website. If you have extra spare change and you want a shirt, grab it and help out our guy Gordo.
You know, and one of the nicest guys that I have met on the internet since I have joined talking to people on the internet. I mean, it's true. Since we've been doing this, nothing but super kind. When you guys did the Indiana Jones movie extravaganza, and we all met up at the movie theater, he was probably one of the nicest people to me that day. And honestly, since that day, this is very important. So please help him out.
Yep. So again, just go to our Sadistic Penguin Studios merch site at the Sadistic Penguin Studios.bigcartel.com. There's a link in the chat right now. I'll also link this up with the video on YouTube, so you can be able to see that there. Shout out to Gordo. Hope he has been feeling well. He's really appreciative of all the support, but help our guy out with his medical bills if you have some spare dough. With that, my friend, let us get into our segment with our guest. Let's pull up her video. Let's get this rocking and rolling. Once I find it, here we go. Miss Keelin, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Doing
Good.
Good.
Sam says he has bought his shirt today. Why hasn't been delivered? I'm sorry, Sam. I can't run that fast. So Miss Keelin, you are back for another segment of Keelin's Cuts in the great month of October. Before we get to the movie that you got to, I want to hear your thoughts on Smile 2.
Yes, Smile 2. So Yumper, I know, was messaging you about this earlier, and we had some different thoughts on it, which was fun. I also liked the first Smile. I thought it was a very original story, and then I think one of the creepier things is any kind of like uncanny valley weird face stuff, especially when it's one person and they think they're the only person who can see it kind of thing. So wonderful premise. I actually had like zero expectations for the second one, and from the preview I actually was like, that kind of looks lame, so I wasn't even going to plan on seeing it or like waiting for it to be released. And I ended up going and seeing it, and I actually really liked it. I do agree with both of you. At the end, it was kind of like, where is this going to go, if anywhere? But I thought throughout the movie, it was really fun. Honestly, the kind of subplot of her life before anything even happened was more scary to me than some of the other stuff. But yeah, it was definitely kind of on edge the whole time. And I did like this kind of, she was never, as a famous person, they're like never really alone, but sometimes maybe some of the loneliest people on earth. And I thought that went really well with the idea of, constantly just seeing people smiling at you and not being able to tell what's real or not. So I really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah, as far as her character, my brother, I remember, because he saw it as well, and he was like, "Yeah, man, she was out there."
Yeah, yeah, she was. I mean, she honestly was a monster herself. So.
Yeah, she was not. It's very hard to. He's like, I kind of not feel sorry for her. Like,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
But
Agreed.
it was an enjoyable film. I'm glad you kind of agreed with me on the ending, but I want everybody to see it, and then we can like do maybe a deep dive on Smile and have you on for that. But I really, really like the concept. Such an original concept for the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got you here for a film that I haven't seen in so long, but when you said it to me in text that you wanted to deal with it and talk about it, it kind of made me laugh. The 1985 film House, which was directed by Steve Miner, who also directed Warlock, Halloween H2O, and Friday the 13th Part 2. The film stars William Catt, Kay Lenz, and good old man from Cheers, Chicago boy, George Wendt. The movie had a budget of $3 million and made 22 at the box office. So, Key, why did you pick this film?
Yeah, so I think this was one of those movies growing up where when you went to the movie store, back when we still had them, you would see this poster, or I guess this VHS cover, and I thought it was always one of the most like intriguing ones, having no idea what this movie was about. And I think I didn't watch it the first time until I was probably like a younger teenager, like 13 or 14 maybe. My sister and I rented it during the summer. And I remember just being like, what is this crazy movie? And yeah, I mean, that's part of why I picked it. So I think there are a lot of reasons to like this movie. I think one is that it's a horror movie, but it is also a bit of a comedy. So it is on the scale of horror a little, I don't want to say lighthearted, because part of the theme is like PTSD for a Vietnam veteran. No, Sam, it's not based off House MD. Although you never know, we could do that.
It could be.
Yeah. So it's weird because it's like almost a horror movie. It's not that much scarier than Mr. Boogedy in some ways that we talked about last time. Yeah. And it's another horror dad movie.
Hey, it totally is a horror dad movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what were your initial impressions when you first watched it?
Yeah, I think when I first watched it, I was really intrigued. I think it takes place in this big, beautiful kind of Victorian mansion. And I mean, from the beginning, it starts off really strong with this delivery boy walking in on this older lady that has recently or like just hung herself, which is terrifying. And then, you know, throughout the movie, as you're sharing here on screen, there's a lot of amazing makeup, practical effects. There's so many like creatures that are just weird and creepy, but also kind of funny. And you know, it's one of those things that's like watching it makes you laugh sometimes, but also if that's something you walked on in your house, you would die. Like scream seeing it. So it's just really fun, while still being scary, I think. And then, you know, again, this is one of those movies where there's like a subplot where he's dealing with some grief from his son somehow like disappears in this house. You find that out sort of at the beginning. So there's some grief from not knowing what happened to his son, and there's this kind of guilt that he has associated with some of his experiences in Vietnam. So lots of kind of subplots going on that add to this story and some of the stuff he's experiencing. So yeah, I loved it the first time I saw it. I was like, this is a wild movie. I watch it usually. I usually watch it like once a year.
Such an interesting plot. I, for some unknown reason, watched House 2 a lot growing up. Did you ever see House 2?
I did see House 2. I like it as well.
It's got they're like the same, you know, it's again this idea of this house, which even today I can drive by any house and look at it, even if it's small, and go, when's if there's a huge jungle inside there? And it's like, because that's what the movie is. It's like there's an imagination inside of the house.
Yeah.
Which one's the one with the brother that kills his brother? Is that House? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Brother who kills his brother.
Yeah, it's the fourth one. It's the fourth one. It's the one where he has, that's the one that constantly came on like Cinemax and the movie channel when I was younger. It's basically a guy and his wife move into the house, and like his brother, like long story short, his brother arranges for him to die, and it's kind of like a mix between Ghost and like House, and like she finds out it's him. Like you don't see him like his like spirit walking around, but like he does certain things like to get his back at his brother, who they find out killed him. It's totally strange and totally out there. That's the one that I repeatedly remember seeing when I was younger. Then I went back and watched all the other ones. The first one, like it's funny that you said it has that blend between comedy and horror. I did today's video for the 31 Days of Horror was American Werewolf in London. And when I was doing research on that for writing the script, that was like one of the first horror comedy films, to be released in the early 80s, and kind of like started that trend of what it's like rolling on. This is 85, so it kind of was continuing that, and that's what kind of started that. So I thought it was kind of cool that we had American Werewolf in London, then we have this, and then if you progress another 10 years, you have Idle Hands.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
So the horror comedy kind of like completely went, and you had like, of course, if you go into the 2000s, you have the scary movies,
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how like they kind of like were cashing in on that trend going on.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because it's also sometimes with, especially movies in the 70s and 80s, it's kind of like, I can't tell sometimes if this is doing this, if it's trying to be funny or
it's not.
Or not.
Well, that's why I shot back when I was telling you about the pumpkin head thing, and I was like, do you like Silver Bullet? And he's like, yeah. And I go, well, that can't be that serious. Look at that. And I turn, but I love Silver Bullet though. I love Silver Bullet, but like, you could do this with any movie. You can critique it.
You can.
Or we can just laugh. Or we can just laugh and have a good time.
Yeah. I think that's the thing about horror. It's like, once you start to take it too seriously, then it stops being
You're
fun.
missing its magic.
Yeah, exactly.
I think also too, if like the horror movie tries to sell itself as a serious horror movie, then that's when you can be a little more critical of it. But in general, the genre is not supposed to be taken seriously. You're supposed to suspend belief, which is the whole point of it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
But what do you think of like the concept of the house? Like anything that stuck out about like the design of the house? Anything that stuck out in your caught your attention besides the creepy stuff going on in it?
Yeah. So I was reading a little bit today about the set design, and it was very interesting. I was reading that they put in like the sidewalk out front, and then they I guess the whole backyard was like completely kind of like desolate and unkempt. So they completely redid that for the movie, which I thought was interesting. And I think one of the things that will stand out for people who have watched this or will watch this is that there are, in the house itself, there are these weird kind of like surreal paintings that presumably were done by the aunt who hangs herself. And they're just very, very weird. And they show them a few times. But there's one of them that has the swordfish that is on the wall, and spoiler alert, comes alive at some point towards the beginning, actually. I think painted stabbing through, I think they said it was the director of the movie. So that's a nice little Easter egg in there. Yeah. And then I really like the idea of one of you said it this way, like the house is kind of a world in itself, where a closet becomes an opening to flashback to Vietnam and in the jungle, and another door opens and it's like off the side of a cliff, and one is just into some like void area that's like a portal. So I really like that idea of just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go look in this closet, and all of a sudden there's like something there, and you never know what's gonna be there. Obviously that's just like adds a little spice to my day when I'm just like, I gotta get something out of my closet. What if I open this and there's this creature? So yeah, I really like that thought of just like mundane things all of a sudden opening up to some weird portal where your child that mysteriously disappeared is somehow hidden within there. I don't know. Yeah.
It does have that a lot in there. One thing that you did that you guys kind of touched on was the movie poster. When I was looking for like trivia for this, I read this and it made me laugh. It says the movie's poster featured a disembodied hand ringing the doorbell. This does not occur in the film, and I was like, man, it didn't. But like you said, when you go to the movie, like the movie rental place, this box intrigued you. So that is marketing at its best, man. Advertising at its best to get you to want to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is good. I know. I thought the same thing earlier. I was like, it didn't really happen. I guess, there is the one creature's hand gets ripped off and like the dog's carrying it around and it's on the back of like the kid that he has to babysit. So there is a hand element, but I don't think it didn't look like that hand for sure.
The posters in the 80s, I mean, I think like the Fright Night poster's a good example. Like that cool face on the front cover of Fright Night isn't in the movie, but it looks awesome. I don't know what,
Yeah, and I kind of noticed that too, Tone. Like, I don't know, like to kind of go off on like a little bit off the subject, but more on like the art. I think like the 80s and 90s had really, really cool posters for like horror films. And the only reason I see them more is because I'm doing them like mostly 80s and 90s horror films for October. But like even looking at like the coolest one I've seen more recent was probably Mandy, but it was fan made. Like the studio release was just Nicolas Cage covered in blood and like Mandy underneath him. But like stuff like House is awesome. Fright Night you brought out. The Thing, The Thing was really cool. I always loved that box art. Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that.
Yeah.
What did you think of the ending of the movie? Hugh?
I think it's weird because I think earlier, like I mentioned, I think is this movie rated R? I feel like earlier I read it's rated R, which is a little crazy to me because besides maybe some of the Vietnam stuff, it's like not really
what you would think of R as.
Yeah. And I feel like the ending also isn't a very rated R ending, which is kind of nice. It's kind of a nice break in a way. And yeah, I think it was a good ending. You're not going to walk away being like, or anything like that. But I felt comfortable with how it ended, and like it's a happy ending essentially, which is fine.
Yeah, that's how I think all the houses end kind of happy, don't they?
Yeah. I think, and honestly, like most of them are just like, oh, I control what I'm afraid of, and I don't have to be afraid. So that's sort of the message. Kind of a wholesome message, considering all of the gross creatures in it.
That's true.
So
wholesome horror.
Do you think this movie inspired any modern horror comedies?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if it inspired it, but you mentioned Idle Hands earlier, and there are definitely elements of that. Just disembodied parts with minds of their own that are also kind of goofy. That definitely was one that seems like it could have taken from that. But yeah, I can't really. I'm trying to like think of many of the like goofier horror movies. I know for this one, the practical effects, I feel like they're almost just in a class of their own. And some of the creatures, I think it's funny, like that's another thing about the 80s. You had like ghoulies and critters and stuff like that, they were almost too goofy. So I feel like this one kind of stands out, and it's goofy, but it's still they're like monstrous. But yeah, I don't know. This movie really reminds me more of Evil Dead and things like that. And I've seen other people make a similar comparison online. So yeah, I can't really think of anything more. What about you guys?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail. For me, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It does kind of remind me of Evil Dead, and you know me, I love Bruce Campbell's my guy. I love Evil Dead. So anything that's kind of reminds you of that, I will definitely watch. Brain Dead's another film that kind of reminds you of Evil Dead. Was goofy from that, and Tony dropped off. Those films, like they inspired comedy going forward with horror. I mean, horror comedy kind of hasn't really, I wouldn't say within the last 10 years, there hasn't really been horror comedy that's more like a good blend of it. Besides
Yeah.
something that's intentionally trying to be a scary, a horror movie, horror comedy movie.
Yeah.
But like this is something that kind of blended it, which I like. I like that, the little aspect of it. When I think of a good horror like that had good comedy, like Signs with Joaquin Phoenix's character was great.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. I think M. Night Shyamalan does a pretty good job too, because even, I don't know if I was supposed to laugh. I think so. With Trapped, there were times in it where it was kind of funny and just like uncomfortable. It's just without the creature type thing. But yeah, you're right. I don't feel like there are some movies. I don't know. I don't know that it intended to be funny more so than uncomfortable. But I feel like Long Legs had some things in it that were very, very goofy. And
cuckoo. I laughed during that part.
Me too.
That and when he's great. Screaming in the car, "Daddy, Mommy!"
Yeah. And when he's like, "Let me in now."
Yeah. Well, I laughed even more because my mom was like, "What is going on?" When he said this, and I was sitting next to her, and she said it so loud that I just started laughing, and then somebody next to us started laughing. And she's like, "What is going on?" And she's like, and then she looked at me, and I was like, but she always thought Nicolas Cage was weird.
Times in the shower, I just started screaming it, and then I've gotten in trouble when I've gotten out to.
Yeah, really, really good. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to think too. I looked up a few 90s horror comedy. I mean, Death Becomes Her, The Frighteners.
Oh, great.
Arachnophobia, which isn't really, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's really, I don't know. House is just very unique, I think.
So do you think that's what kind of makes it like a cult classic?
Yeah, I think so. Because there's elements in it that are common. But I think it is unique because of how it blends all of those elements. And then I do think the actors are pleasant, which I think people like. It seems like people really like George Wendt, which I do too. He's awesome. He's funny. He shows up and is just like a ray of sunshine in this movie as like a nosy neighbor. And I think it's just like everybody's kind of pleasant. It's hard to dislike them. And yet it's still, there's only really one actual like human character that's a little frightening. So I think it's just kind of a lovable movie, and the premise is, again, kind of a unique blend of things, with some good plots that kind of add to what makes the sort of like ghouls and critters a little scarier than if they stood alone as just like, oh, we've got a critter problem in this house.
Yeah, I watched the original Critters not too long ago, and Jesus Christ, it's so out there. It's funny, but it's like so out there.
Yeah, it's hard to feel, I think, invested so much in the characters when, I mean, the main character in this movie, he's got a lot going on. Not only the weird stuff with his son, but also, again, like guilt from his war days. And they make it very clear from the outset, so it's kind of hard not to root for him.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of charming. Also, I didn't realize it until today that he was Tommy from Carrie. I think his name's Tommy Ross. Yep. Yeah. I did not ever put that together. So, yeah, I think that. Yeah. And even in that, when he was a little bit of a jerk, he was still like he just has an angelic face. I don't know how else to say it.
Oh.
I don't have a crush on him. Okay, don't start those rumors. He looks like a little angel, though. Okay.
William Catt got the angel face for Keelin.
He and George Wendt, I think they're about the same age, which is really crazy to me. George Wendt just like permanently looks, well, not anymore, but I think he permanently looked like 40 for a long time.
On George Wendt, like, he's such a likable person. Like, I can't really see him in a bad role where you would dislike him. Even I think he did a Tales from the Crypt episode, right, Tone? Where he's basically, it's like with a vampire that works as a security guard of a blood bank. Have you ever seen this episode?
I think he fell off again.
I know, I'm talking, but have you ever seen this episode?
I probably have because I've watched like every episode of Tales from the Crypt. But let me see. He played a baddie in that.
Yeah, he played like kind of like an asshole in the episode. You Tony, remember the Tales of the Crypt episode where George Wendt was like there's like a
The
vampire. Yes, he does.
With Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell was the vampire. And
yeah, it's called which is hilarious because I had a friend who this was like it was called, what's the name of the episode? It was like The Uninspiring Vampire. It was something really ridiculous, but Wendt is great in that role.
Yeah, he's supposed to be an asshole, and I still liked him in this
He
episode.
was, well, because he's like, because like even when they get him eventually, and he's just so like, he's just a nice guy.
Yeah, it's like I remember saw it because it was on TV. My dad was watching it with my mom, and I'm like, "Isn't that the guy from Cheers?" He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "He was being bad," but I'm like, in my head I still saw him as Norm.
He's great.
I know. I feel like that's the
thing.
thing.
He's great in Outside Providence.
Oh, he's hilarious in that film. Yeah. Have you seen that film, Keelin?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Outside Providence is a good film. Zoe put me onto that film, Outside Providence. Hilarious film.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, you would like it. It's got a lot of.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead. Mine's not related, so you go ahead. Well, it's semi-related. So
it's got a lot of like Dazed and Confused feels for me for Outside Providence.
Cool. I'm looking at the cover right now, and there's
it's
a
like
lot
it's
going
like
on.
It's like the only series. It's like the only serious movie that the guys who did Dumb and Dumber did. Really, Fairley Brothers. It's like a little bit more serious than everything else.
Those guys. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
It's a heartful movie.
Cool.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
I'll definitely watch it. Yeah, I looked through George Wendt's filmography, and I saw he was in Spice World, and I don't remember that, so I'm gonna have to do a rewatch. Him and Meatloaf are both in it. So, what an iconic film!
Hey man, I'll give it up to the Spice Girls. They capitalized on that popularity, man.
They really did. Amazing film.
Pop culture icons.
Yeah.
All right, Keith, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything you have to plug?
Sad Penguin. Bam. Nothing else to plug right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to have you on again within probably a couple of weeks. I really like the horror segment, even though I know we had you on more this month for October, but it's kind of good to get horror like thrown in there every once in a while for our show. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Great
it's always
Great
fun.
Picks.
Awesome. All right.
Okay. Take it easy, Keith.
Show, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
The great Keelin coming in hot with House. Yeah, when she sent me a text on this time, I started laughing. So I'm like, man, I haven't seen that movie in like a long time.
And it's funny, as soon as she brought it up, the first thing I thought of was that box with the hat.
Yeah. When you go to the movie store, when I went to Masterpiece Video, I know I talk about that a lot, but that was like one of the predominant, boxes on the wall I saw every time in the horror section. But yeah, that's what got me to watch it. So awesome pick, Key. So Tone, let's get into our main event here, my man. We have a 5 and 5 spectacular list for you here. Well, you decide it's spectacular, but I think it's spectacular. But 5 and 5 of some monster movies that possibly you do know and you might not know. We got some deep cuts here that we want to get to. You ready to roll into these, my friend?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's roll into our first one.
Sometimes an insect will evolve to mimic its predator. A fly can look like a spider. A caterpillar can look like a snake. The Judas evolved to mimic its predator. Us.
They'll be up there.
1997's Mimic, directed by Guillermo del Toro, who also did Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy 1 and 2, and the Oscar-winning film The Shape of Water. This movie stars Mira Sorvino, Jeremy Northam, Charles S. Dutton, Josh Brolin, and F. Murray Abraham. The movie had a box office of $25 million and a budget of $30 million and a 67,000 home entertainment sales profit. Tone, have you seen this one?
Oh, this is to me, this time period when this movie was made, just really good horror movies were coming out. Um, and you keep and what's funny is it's you said it again, the director. I'm watching this movie and didn't realize when I was watching it that I was watching a future one of the future great directors of his time making one of his early movies. I knew he made movies before this that were really good, but again, I like another movie around this time called The Relic. I know it's not like Mimic, but it's again these movies, and again another cool movie poster for the time. There's a couple different ones, but real good movie. Real good movie.
Yeah, this is one of my picks. It's one of the films that, I'm a huge fan of unique stories. This has a unique story in it. You have bugs they're insects basically that mimic us as they're predators, and then they try to infiltrate, which it says in that, the little clip we had. Uh Del Toro is like, to me, I love his art style of his designs of characters, his cinematography, the way his themes play out in film. This is early Del Toro, so you see a lot of his like ideas coming through here. It's awful fresh, also fresh off Kronos. So he has a little bigger budget here. But I really, really like this film just for, the tone it shows and the way he had the creatures look at. I always think of that thing when they go to the water filtration plant, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we've had people splash a lot of stuff down the drain, condoms sometimes full of cocaine, bullets." And then he's like, "But we never had anything like this." And they show that big ass bug. He just shows them. Uh, that always sticks out to me. And when I was doing research for this film, Del Toro was treated like shit by the Weinsteins, and
Really?
he almost got into a fight with them, but held himself. And then one of the probably greatest action directors and like visual minds came to his defense in the name of James Cameron, who Del Toro told him about what was going on. And I guess when Cameron won the Oscar for Titanic, Harvey Weinstein went up to him and said, I'll just go by the quote, what Cameron said. He said, Harvey came up gland handing me, talking about how great they were for the artists. And I just read him chapter and verse about how great I thought he was for the artist based on my friend Del Toro's experience. And that led to an altercation. Cameron claims he nearly hit Weinstein with his Oscar statue before they were ushered back into their seats.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so apparently he treated Del Toro horribly. And again, you gotta understand how Del Toro was a new, director to the American audiences. So it's pretty horrible that the Weinsteins are horrible people, but it's horrible that, Del Toro had such a bad experience or such a good like concept of a film. And he eventually said he wasn't happy with the turnout of it. I liked it, but I can only imagine his vision how it would have been.
Yeah, I mean it's again a really good movie. Really awesome. It's awful. Again, Weinsteins were awful anyway, but now you just gave me another reason to think they're even more awful. Great monster in this movie. It's filmed really, really good. It really, honestly, it does what it needed to do in the movie. Like this picture on the screen. I always like the way it like kind of like cocoons itself, and the way he was able to shoot that and film it. And again, when I'm watching this back, and then you're not thinking this is the guy who's going to be doing these other awesome movies, but you can see it in this work.
Yeah, and it's crazy too that not that there was issues with the director and the producers, studio heads, but apparently Del Toro said Mira Sorvino and Jeremy Northam could not stand each other on set, so there was issues between the cast. Oh my goodness!
Fighting.
Yeah, Sam. But yeah, definitely. If you haven't seen it, check this one out. It's not gonna blow your mind, but it's a cool concept, and it has some cool jump scares and like just all around like the ideas of it kind of make you think like, what if there is something out there?
Yeah, I mean that's honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I'm still on that huge X-Files kick I was talking about
Mhm.
3 weeks ago. I watch it on every night almost, and honestly, that's how I am with these cool monsters. It's like a lot of it is like, what happens if there are out there? You just don't know, and that's what makes this movie so cool because it is such a what happens if it is?
Yeah, totally, man. That's the whole thing about movies, that make you think.
Yes, yes, yes.
But let's get to your one, my man.
Let's do it.
Now, right here, we're safe. And she's gonna make it through the night. Come morning time, then we can worry about taking her to town.
How do you know she can't get in here?
Shit, I've been living in this place more than 15 years, and she ain't never came in this motherfucker.
2022's Barbarian, directed by Zach Kreger, who also directed The Civil War on Drugs and Miss March. The film stars Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, Justin Long, Richard Brake, and Matthew Patrick Davis. The movie had a budget of $4.5 million and made $45 million at the box office. Tone, tell me why you picked this one, my man.
Probably in the last 5 years, there's only been a handful of yeah, I mean, we're gonna get to that in a second here. But we're gonna get to that in a second here. But there's only about a handful of movies that I think horror in the horror genre in the last 5 years that are like worth a damn, like really, really good, really awesome movies. Barbarian is one of them. Number one, the title has nothing to do with the movie at all, and I think that's just so cool. Whereas we could have talked a long time about House and how I thought that title was cool. Can you imagine being like in the boardroom and being like, let's go with House? No, that's not good enough. It needs to be Paranormal House. You know, it's like Barbarian. They got a pass. That's great. The movie itself is so cool and out there. I really enjoy it. I enjoyed the twist. I enjoyed Justin Long because he's such a POS in this movie, but he's like, I like scuzz bag POSs, especially played by guys who sometimes play nice characters like Justin Long. She is that scene on top of the water tower is ridiculous. The movie is just really a really good example. As Sam brought up, the creators of Whitest Kids You Know. One of the funniest things that I could ever tell you about my father is he was obsessed with the movie Miss March. He watched it 1,000 times to the point where he brought it over to like other adult friends' houses and told them that they needed to watch Miss March. I don't know what was going on through his head. So when I see this movie's coming out and it's the main man doing all of this from the Whitest Kids You Know, I was definitely like, you know, this is going to be great. And obviously to me it is. It's really a cool movie. What do you think of it, Yum?
I really enjoyed this film. It's an A24 film. You know, and A24 has been coming out with some bangers, man. It's something different, totally. And the crazy thing is, and this is a trend that's been going on, is Zach Kreger's a comedian. And it looks like comedy is kind of like making its way into horror. You know, you get not Danny Masterson, he's a piece of shit. Eastbound and Down. You know what I'm talking about? Danny.
Oh yeah, Danny McBride.
Yeah, Danny McBride. Even though I didn't really like the Halloweens, he still was involved in it.
Yeah.
And you have Jordan Peele, who has done his films of Get Out, Us, Nope. You know, he's kind of like, and those people, the comedians know how to feed on emotions and know how emotions work for a person. I mean, it's their whole part of their art. And it's kind of cool that these comedians are kind of branching into horror because they're making some good films. This is a unique story that, you know, I reviewed it a couple, maybe last week for 31 Days of Horror. I remember first seeing it and like, Bill Skarsgård is in here. Why isn't Bill Skarsgård here? And you think like, oh, it's gonna be some shit with him, and it totally does like a 180. And it's like when he gets, you know, bashed in the bottom in the basement, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The mother character is just totally out there. I don't want to give too much away because it's a film that you should see, but it has a great twist. You kind of feel like what's going on. It's creepy. It's every Airbnb's worst nightmare in terms of what could happen. And I mean, it's a cool concept, and I really, really liked the way that Kreger put it all together for the film.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, as you stated, I think it was that original storyline. You know, in a world where we're getting so many remakes and redos and prequels and sequels, and Barbarian was just an all-around original affair. So again, kind of like Longlegs, which you were talking about earlier, which you know, he's already lining up his next movie, which is a Stephen King, the guy who does Long Legs. But his next movie, Craigers, I'm going to be excited to see because, well, Barbarian was such an original affair. I can't imagine his next movie not being as original or as good.
Yeah. Barbarian 2, Electric Boogaloo. Larry might love that one too, Sam.
He might.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Barbarian, it's something unique. Definitely worth the watch. It's gory and it's still very, very creepy with the original story. I really enjoyed it. I'm trying to make that one a regular rotation of an October movie for me because it's that creepy.
It's just that good.
Hopefully, I can get the wife to watch this one. Last time,
Katie
already spoiled Sinister for me because she said
worry.
she couldn't watch it.
Katie's in the background over here whispering, saying, "I like that one." So don't worry, she can vouch for this one.
Because I tried to get Jen to watch.
Katie will vouch for most horror movies. It's more of like something that is like, well, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But yeah, Jen, I tried to get Jen to watch Sinister, and when she saw Katie say, "Oh, I like it," she's like, "No, I'm not watching."
No, that one, honestly, Sinister, Hostel, Tusk. That's about what I got for what.
Oh man, Tusk.
Which is so stupid because like Tusk is like dumb. Like to me, it's like I get why she doesn't want to see it because of the skinned walrus at the end. But it's like literally not, which is ironic because that's Justin Long too, which is Barbarian. Look, we tied it in. We didn't go off track. But yes, you get the point.
Tusk, man, it was made off a podcast by Kevin Smith. His fans for his podcast wanted it. But we're gonna oh my god, Tusk. I'm just thinking about it right now. The part where he's like fighting the guy. All right, let's move on to our next film, my friend.
Stop! Now look! You see, they're headed right for us. Look, they trapped Edgar here, grabbed old Fred right here, nailed those two poor suckers on the road, and the doctor's place is right here. Now, this valley is just one long smorgasbord.
1990s Tremors, directed by Ron Underwood, who also did City Slickers, Heart and Souls, and Mighty Joe Young. The film stars Kevin Bacon, aka Kevin Ham, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, Reba McEntire, and the great Victor Wong. The movie had a box office of $16 million on a budget of $11 million. This is one of my picks. If you know me, you know I love me some Tremors. I love this film. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward are like two of my favorite characters in the horror universe. Earl and Valentine. This film, I remember first seeing it. I couldn't stop laughing at how ridiculous it was. It also has Victor Wong, who I love from Big Trouble in Little China, of course. So that kind of drew me in more. Shout out to Hector, who says, the worms will chase the lawnmower. We have lawnmower. It chased that. It makes noise. But I love the set design. I love the comedy in this film. This is a horror comedy, like a true horror comedy. I love, Reba McEntire's is her first acting role. I love her in it. Her and Michael Gross's chemistry is really, really good as the gun nuts and, the survival experts. You have, like I said, the great bromance between Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward, Victor Wong in his store. And then you have like everybody else around the living area. The graboids, which Victor Wong's character gives them the name, are awesomely designed. They're crazy to look at. They had small scale graboids and they had giant scale ones, which I thought was awesome. This movie spawned like 20 damn sequels that are not. The second one's okay, and then it kind of fell off. Michael Gross just keeps coming back for the paycheck, I think. But it's a film that bombed, Tone. This film bombed, and Kevin Bacon only took it because he thought that he needed the money. He had a newborn baby and a new marriage to Kara Sidrick. And he's like, man, I need the money. And then he's like, it bombed. He thought it was the end of his career. And the film got a cult following, like a real big cult following, to the point where they actually made a TV show for the movie with Kevin Bacon returning, and I believe Fred Ward was in it as well, and it didn't get picked up,
Oh,
which is ridiculous. It was so they
really?
made like it's something that never got picked up, which I thought was crazy because I think there would be a huge, Tremors fan base out there, but I guess the studios thought it wasn't. Um, what do you think about this one?
I mean, you pretty much wrapped it all up there. I mean, a real awesome movie that saw it the year it came out. Um, Again, these are the type of movies like the monster movies that like my dad liked. He wasn't really into like slasher movies. He was into like Tremors. He was into like, aliens and creatures. Where this one, I mean, of course, I mean, as a kid, to imagine just the way it was coming through the ground like a worm, I thought that was awesome. Um, you are hilarious with the sequels that it spawned because you are right, there was a lot of sequels. Um, I like movies like this. Like some of my favorite movies are Lake Placid, Deep Blue Sea, like the where this isn't really like a, an alligator, but it's like that same feeling. It's like it's fun. It could be funny. There are laughs, there are quirks, there's a lot of one-liners. Um, I mean, Fred Ward, we've already used him once with the I'm Not Mad, so we know we love Fred Ward here. And Kevin Bacon. I mean, it's just a great movie.
Yeah, the fuck you to the
Yeah.
graboid was smashed into the wall. It's classic. Just going through some notes here. So Walter Chang is the character that Victor Wong plays, and is named and is named the Graboids. Do you know that Pat Morita was actually considered for the role of Walter Chang?
Really?
Yeah,
That's
but
interesting.
he wanted too much money for the part, so they cast my guy Victor Wong in there. And Ray Liotta apparently was considered for Val.
That would have been
I,
interesting.
I don't know if Ray could be Val, man.
No, I don't think so. But still interesting. Ray in anything is I love Ray.
I do too, but I just think like Bacon and Ward's chemistry like made the
Well, yeah,
movie.
you can't replace those two at all. I mean, you're never going to take this away, because as you stated, I mean, when you think about it, classic duo. Even
Oh
their
yeah.
outfits they wear, in the picture on the screen. I'll always remember Fred Ward with his tucked in denim shirt on a hot, day in the desert. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I always think about too the scene where they get done plowing the junkyard and he's sitting on a couch in the junkyard and Fred Ward walks over and he's like, "Do you want a beer?" And he opens up a toilet seat. That's beer in the toilet. I always remember that part. That cracks me up. But yeah, or a good old Chang and get 10 books for this one. Stinking mitts on this one.
That's a good one.
But yeah, it's a great film. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Sam says, "Give me Mr. Bean and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Tremors remake." That'd be kind of funny.
Ooh, I like that.
The Tremors. That'd be kind of funny if he didn't. I'm still hoping Arnold comes back for Predator, but I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, if you haven't seen Tremors, check it out. It's a cult classic and it's a hilarious movie. That isn't really scary, but it's a fun ride. But here's another film that you picked that's coming up next that I also thought it's a horror comedy, but let's go into this one.
Fuck this cowboy shit! You fucking ho dunk, well then there, motherfuckers!
1995's Demon Knight, directed by Ernest R. Dickerson, who directed Juice, Bulletproof, Surviving the Game, which is the underrated gem there. Bones.
Great movie. We're gonna have to break that one down one day.
Oh, I love that movie. Starring William Sadler, Billy Zane, Dick Miller, CC Pounder, Thomas Hayden Church, and Jada Pinkett Smith. This movie had a budget of $13 million and made a box office of $21 million. Tone, tell me why you picked this one.
I mean, in the horror genre, I still have so many aces up my sleeve of things to talk about, and one of them is Demon Knight. I mean, Tales from the Crypt is definitely I was everything Tales from the Crypt when it was out. Everything. Like I needed it to watch it. I'll always remember going over to a friend's house, and it used to be on, he didn't have cable, but it was on Fox on midnights on like Friday night. Like I had to find it and I had to show people anyway, to the point where I remember specifically at Ball State, like 2003, DVDs came out. First season came out, and I was so pissed because the first season only had 6 episodes, and it was like another 6 months until season 2. But I was like, I lined everyone up. We watched these episodes, but Demon Knight back when it came out, I mean, a movie now. Definitely went and seen it at the movie theater. You know me, man. This soundtrack is great. Definitely one that's going to be picked in the future for the picking. Just loaded. But Billy Zane's performance is, it's Oscar worthy. You know, and I think everything Billy Zane does is great. You know, I was lucky enough opening night to go see The Phantom with my mom. So I'm really Billy Zane in anything, but this movie, he nails the performance. You did a really great video on Demon Knight. This is just a really big, huge. I'm a equal fan of Bordello of Blood. A lot of people knock Bordello of Blood. I love Bordello of Blood too, but I went with Demon Knight tonight. And the Crypt Keeper's the monster that we're representing tonight.
Yes. You hit the nail on the head with Billy Zane. He is phenomenal in this role, and this is his favorite role he's ever played in any role in terms of show business. And he really like embodied and loved everything about it as the demon. Also, it has Dick Miller in here, which you might know from as a neighbor in Gremlins, which I thought was hilarious. He plays an old man here, and then he like is obsessed with women in the film. But you know, it's Thomas Hayden Church plays a complete asshole.
Which honestly, I will I will be a liar to you because now I got to bring it up. Me and my wife use a quote from this movie when we're in a bad mood. There's a quote from this movie we always say, and it's Thomas Hayden Church when he's like, "My nipples are smoking," when he's got the things attached to him.
Yeah.
Just such a ridiculous line in the movie, but awesome movie, man.
Yeah, also the guy who does the voice for Roger Rabbit is in here as well. The comedian Tone.
Yeah.
What's his name? Charles. I can't think of his name. I don't have it in my
I'm not
notes.
sure who that is. I knew he was in there.
Yeah, he plays the guy who's obsessed with the stripper in the film. Charles Fletcher. Fletcher. Yeah, he plays Wally. But this film is, you know, it's completely out there. It was the first feature film from Tales from the Crypt, so you know it had a lot of big backing because Crypt was like the horror show from HBO in the 90s. It got a theatrical release of, you know, that's supposed to be 3 movies that were supposed to come out. Bordello of Blood, I think, kind of killed the 3-pack for the trilogy. But this was like they hit a home run with this one coming out. I really like this one. I liked the story of it. I thought it was cool, and of course, it had the opening of the Crypt Keeper, which is what, you know, we lived for as kids.
Yes.
To watch the Crypt Keeper because he was like the cool horror guy.
He was the man.
But if you haven't seen this one, be sure to check this one out. It's definitely worth your time, my friends. Let's go on to our next one, my man.
Look, I really have to go.
Claire, I think someone is stalking me and Samuel.
What?
A book turned up at our place. I threw it away, but somebody glued it back together and put it on our doorstep.
Amelia, I just can't help you right now.
I don't expect you to help. I just want
If you're that worried, you should go to the police. I've got to go.
The Babadook, released in 2014, directed by Jennifer Kent, who did The Nightingale and Monster. The film stars Essie Davis, Noah Wiseman, Daniel Henshaw, and Haley McEnany. The film had a budget of $2 million with a box office of $10 million. Now, this is one of my picks, Tone. The reason I picked this film is because it has a unique story, and I love the fact that this film can scare you without actually showing you what the monster is. And that's something I think that takes a lot of hard work by the people who film it and the people who write the screenplay and story for it. And this I think pulls it off perfectly. It has, you know, a mom and her child, and apparently they're haunted by this entity that you never see. Then you don't know if the entity's real. The ending kind of leaves it ambiguous. Are they really serious? Is this really happening? Uh, it's just so many things that leave so twists and turns in the film that I thought it was pulled off, really, really well. And it's probably become one of my favorite horror films that's not well known. Have you seen this one?
It's funny you should bring this up because you were actually a hero in the classroom today, Yumper, and you're like, I was a hero in your classroom today. A student says we're talking about scary movies, and I was like, some kid said that he watched this movie on Disney called Halloween Town. And I was like, I give you credit for admitting that because, you usually would be like, I watched Child's Play or something like that. And then another student chimes in and goes, you know what? One of the scariest movies I ever saw was The Babadook. And immediately I look up at him and I just listen to him explain The Babadook and why it's awesome. And he explains it honestly. And he's all of 14 years old the way you just explained. He's like, it's cool because it doesn't really show you a lot. It's also kind of like, it's an indie film. So it leaves the thought process more to you. And I go, you got to come over here. And he comes over and I go, look at this text message from my movie podcast partner. Look at the movie he picked. And he looks down and he goes, Babadook, he picked the Babadook. And I go, yes, he said that was his pick. So Yump, you were a hero. And for all the reasons you just said, I agreed with both of you because it was definitely those same reasons is why I enjoy it. Sometimes not needing to see the monster is a huge thing. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it still, but a movie like Signs, that's why I like Signs when I saw it the first time because it didn't show me the aliens. It didn't give me everything. It leaves something to the imagination, which I enjoy.
Yeah, and I love, you have a scene here of the book. I love like the book that they have. I thought it was awesome. It's creepy. Like I want to own that book because I'm a big fan of it. William Friedkin, who did the Exorcist, came out as quote as saying, "I've never seen a more terrifying film than The Babadook." Now, is it more terrifying than The Exorcist? I don't think it hit me in that way. But I also saw this again as an older, as this came out in 2014. I saw this, as a full adult. But I just love the concept that it's really, really hard to pull something like this off, and I think they did a great job of doing it. It's something that doesn't get done every all the time, and I just love the fact of it. And you don't have to worry about. I don't know if they're gonna do a Babadook sequel. I don't think they need to do it, but it kinda closes everything, like, it does so many twists and turns, and it kinda leaves it open at the end, but it kinda closes all the little plots and whatnot that you have going on, but it's just awesome that it reminds you of, like, I don't know if you ever seen this film from I believe it was in the '40s called Cat People?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the original Cat.
And yeah, and, I really, really liked, I saw it before, and then I saw, James, Rolfe, who inspired 31 Days of Horror with his, Cinemassacres, horror series. I forget what it's called. Monster Madness. He had, and Cat People was on there, and he explained that that film was basically the sets were used from other films. It's low budget, and they basically said they're gonna make a horror film with like names like Cat People, where they'll use sounds to make you think of a cat, but you never actually see the cat person.
Yeah.
Like the bus, or the growling of the wind, and I think that's like stuff that kind of plays on horror more because we've all been kids. I mean, we've recently, if you're outside and you listen to, if you're laying in bed and there's a real hard windstorm, you can hear a lot of weird shit going on out there.
I mean, to roll back to Sinister, I think that's kind of some of the greatest things in Sinister too. It's not full on throw monsters in your face. It's more of what is lurking and what could pop at any moment that scares you, or a sound. And that's why being a sound editor on a lot of horror movies is awesome, because you got to get some of that perfect sound, because if you don't have that mixed with maybe the score, it could sink.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. Totally. If you haven't seen The Babadook, please be sure to check her out. It's one of my favorites. It's so underrated. It's definitely worth your time. Slow burn, but definitely worth your time. Tone, let's get into your next one, my friend.
Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Norman Maine. My mother thanks you, my father thanks you, my sister thanks you, and I thank you. You have nothing to fear but fear itself, nothing to give but blood, sweat, and tears, nothing to lose but your chains. Here he is, boys. Here he is, world. Here is Fat!
1978's Magic, directed by Richard Attenborough, who also did Grey Owl, Closing the Ring, Chaplin, Cry Freedom, A Chorus Line, and Gandhi. It stars Anthony Hopkins and Margaret, Burgess Meredith, Ed Lauer, and E.J. Andre. The film had a box office of $7 million with no budget I could find. Tell me why you picked Magic, my man.
This is 2008 or 2009, and again, at this point in my life, I feel like I've seen everything. But like, I loved my father because like he would always, like in the 70s and the 80s, he'd be seeing everything too, but you don't really have everything. You don't really like, there's so many movies like we talked about, like Bubba Hotep. You know, when you say, oh, movies have you seen, you probably wouldn't even name Bubba Hotep in your top 400. But if your son sat with you after he saw his 400 and was like, Dad, give me 401, you may say Bubba Hotep. I went to him and I was like, you know, what's a movie? And he's like, you ever see Magic? And I like immediately go and look it up because I'm thinking it's going to be about like magic tricks. And he's like, no, it's got Burgess Meredith. And immediately my head starts going Rocky, you know, Grumpy Old Men. And then he goes, and Margaret. He goes down the list and I go, oh my God, this sounds amazing. And I ordered the DVD on Amazon. The DVD comes in the mail. I still have the DVD here. I watch it and I just think it's amazingly awesome because of some of the things we were talking about earlier about like the Babadook. Again, it's some of what it's not doing that is awesome than what it is actually you think it's doing. You know, it's like, again, it's not Chucky, or is it in his head, or was it in his head, or is it not in his head? Anthony Hopkins, to me, this is the first time I see Anthony Hopkins and not the Anthony Hopkins from Silence of the Lambs and after. This is Anthony Hopkins with like a full head of brown hair. He's young, and honestly, he's insane in this movie. Probably crazy, just as crazy as, to me, Silence of the Lambs. But these are all the reasons why, on the surface, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's great job by Flesh Suit Man, who said Magic is wild. It's definitely wild. Hopkins does a great performance in this film as Corky. I always liked his nickname was Corky. But it's totally makes you think it's in his head. Is it real? He's obvious. I always thought he was suffering from like some serious mental health issues with the film. But you know, you say that you remember, you mostly know Anthony Hopkins from Silence of the Lambs, you know, when we think of him, and he got a lot of his traits for Hannibal Lecter from this film. It's like it kind of inspired him to, when he was doing Silence of the Lambs, pull some of the Corky out, which has, I guess now that I look at it, I can totally see it after I was reading the notes for it. Burgess Meredith's in this film, and most people might know him as Mickey from Rocky, but I always know him as the Penguin from Batman, and he was in The Twilight Zone as a devil in several episodes. So that kind of, it's awesome that he's back in the horror genre in this film. I really liked this film. It was really good in terms of, you know, suspenseful. Again, leaves you thinking about what's going on. Very similar to the Babadook, as you said. And Margaret is awesome in this film as well.
She is. She's great in this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. Telling that
Lauder is good too. As the husband, he's really good too. Is what I like is I like Anthony Hopkins because he's like, as the viewer, you know he's slipping, but he's keeping it together. You know, like when Burgess Meredith comes to see him, and he's like, and I always do this all the time. It's kind of like the movie Clifford with Martin Short, where he's like, can you just act like a normal boy for 2 minutes? It's like this, where he's like, can you just put that doll down for 3 minutes and not do it? And he's like, yeah, of course I can. You know I can. And then he's like looking at it, and he's like, and then he like picks it up and he's like, hi, I'm fat. There's just a really crazy element that's creepy that, like you said, Well, you know, don't not to give away the ending. It's very, very interesting in the Anthony Hopkins catalog.
Yeah, and it's crazy, that we praise Anthony Hopkins for this role, but Richard Attenborough really, really wanted Gene Wilder to do this role. Um,
Mm.
and his writer William Goldman wanted, but producer Joseph E. Levine refused on the grounds that he wanted no comedians in the movie to distract from serious nature of the story. I think Gene Wilder gets kind of discredited because everybody assumes he's a comedic actor, but he's actually a very talented actor in general. Uh,
Yes.
I think he would have done a good role, but I think Hopkins knocks it out of the park in
Yeah,
this
he
role.
does. He does. It's cool to have this one in his catalog. And honestly, what would he have pulled from for Hannibal Lecter if he didn't have this?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those crazy, you know, anything with a ventriloquist stuff, makes me laugh in terms of
Well, there's a
horror.
couple really good. There's a really excellent. Um, I think it's Bobcat Goldthwait, ventriloquist episode in Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
Again, as you stated, or you can even go to Goosebumps. My
Slappy.
ventriloquist dummy, yeah, Slappy. I mean, you could
Mhm.
go to anything with a ventriloquist, and you're gonna get some scares in something or another.
Yeah. Who else is in the ventriloquist with Oh, Don Rickles. Don Rickles
Yeah,
is
that's who I was gonna lead with because
uh,
I remember the whole. But then I was like, no, it's Bobcat Goldthwait. Yeah, it's both of them. Yes.
but I'm a dummy and the devil makes me say things. Gabbo from Simpsons was a dummy.
Yeah.
But on that episode of I know we're going off track here, folks, just stay with me. But that episode of Tales from the Crypt, I always thought it was strange that Don Rickles' hand looks like a little person,
Yeah.
even when it's under the cloth, and nobody ever says anything to him about it.
Well, because he never shows it to anybody.
Yeah, but I mean, even with the cloth, it looks like a little person.
Yeah, but like the thing about it is like, okay, if you're to the level that supposedly Don Rickles was,
Mhm.
you're not asking him what's under his hand but like the thing is it was his brother,
Yeah.
Morty. It's Morty.
He's a real star of the show.
But Bobcat Goldthwait actually nails that one too, because Bobcat Goldthwait is usually all up in your face, but in that one he's more like, "Can you show me your tricks?"
Yeah.
But he actually unfortunately that's why I love Tales of the Crypt. Everyone gets duped. They start with like, "I got this," and then by the end they're like, "No, it's over." I
Yeah.
love it, man. I love it.
And he puts him in the meat grinder, Morty in the meat grinder. That's
Yeah.
the funny part.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a joke, son. You gotta laugh. No, but definitely check out
Real quick
Magic.
before we move on, because we mentioned Tales from the Crypt. Have you ever seen the one with Bill Paxton and Brad Dourif, where they're brothers?
Is that when they're Siamese twins?
The ice cream truck, yeah, the ice cream truck guy,
Yeah.
and Siamese twins. Yeah, that one reminds me a lot of the Morty one. That one's a classic. But yeah, we can move on now. We can talk about Tales of the Crypt forever.
We'll have to do a deep dive on Tales from the Crypt.
We will sometime.
All right, let's move on to our next film.
Because you do not believe in God does not mean God does not believe
Think
in
someone
you.
can spend half their life in a slam with a horse bit in their mouth and not believe? Think he could start out in some liquor store trash bin with an umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and not believe? Got it all wrong, holy man. I absolutely believe in God. And I absolutely hate the fucker.
2000's Pitch Black, directed by David Tony, who also did Riddick, The Chronicles of Riddick, A Perfect Getaway, The Arrival, and he also wrote several horror films such as Warlock the Armageddon. He did The Great Water World, G.I. Jane, The Fugitive, what the hell am I talking about? The Fugitive, and Terminal Velocity. The film stars Radha Mitchell, Cole Hauser, Vin Diesel, Keith David, Louis Fitzgerald, and Claudia Black. This movie had a box office of $53 million and a budget of $23 million with $550K in market sales. This is one of my picks, Tone, and this is probably the best role for Vin Diesel I know he's known now for Fast and Furious, but this film and Chronicles of Rick, I think, are his best two roles besides Find Me Guilty, where he plays the mobster and that does the trial between based on a true story for the mobster that basically got himself off representing himself. But I
Is that a
love
good
this film.
movie?
Yeah, Find Me Guilty. It is.
I've never seen that one. I'll have to watch it.
But this film has everything. It reminds me a lot of Alien. But it's kind of cool that you go to this desolate planet that turns pitch black, and you have all these creatures come out from the underground that are hurt by light, sensitive to light, and you're basically trying to get back on your ship. A lot of like sci-fi horror here, probably inspired by Alien, but I love the concept of it. I think it's shot really cool, even though it's shot in like a dark atmosphere and dark cinematography. I do love the fact when, the part when they go into the little cave and they have the glowworms for the light. That part's really, really cool. The visual aspect of that's really, really cool. Uh, Vin Diesel, like I said, is menacing in this role. He has a character who can see in the dark. He has a surgery done because he never wanted to, always wanted to know who was behind him, is what they gave the excuse of. But he's awesome in it. And the less lines Vin Diesel has, the better he does, in my opinion. But yeah, totally awesome film. Tone, what'd you think of this one?
Again, as you stated, awesome movie. Spawn sequels, and obviously it's a good character for him. I think it's, as you stated, his best character. Because as you stated, he's, how do I say it? I could see why people think he looks good on the screen, but sometimes when he talks too much, it could bury some of the things that he's doing. But in this movie, it calls perfect for that because, again, sci-fi is really, really good for monster movies because you can do some really cool stuff. It's not like it can take place in a house. This one, as you stated, takes place in this cool world where the cinematography is aces, and his contacts he wears in this movie are amazing.
Yeah, and I really like the part where the asshole of the film, Louis Fitzgerald, is left alone and he blows the fire with all them surrounding him. That was a really cool. It was in the previews, but that's like a really cool scene. It's just shot so nice, even though it's a lot of it's CGI. It's shot like you think about it too. Like, what if there was a creature that could live in the dark and see you and try to kill you? I mean, there's predators, of course, but something that like an alien wise creature that lived out there that could get you. So it was a good concept and a good idea. So to me, it's something interesting if you haven't seen this one.
I hate to say, is there a connection? But what happens if Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs had his eyes done so he didn't have to wear that ridiculous thing at the end when he was in the dark? The glasses thing he had, it could have been like a pitch black in the side. Oh, there we go. In the
There you
same
go.
universe. There
Plus,
we go.
man, it says Pitch Black and Alien. It's the same universe as Alien. Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
But great pick, Yum. Excellent
Yeah.
pick.
And to go with your Buffalo Bill, Clarice would have been one of his suits.
There we go.
If it worked out for.
There we go.
But yeah, definitely an awesome film. If you haven't seen it, it's a good sci-fi horror film. And Vin Diesel, this is like that was the breakout role for Vin Diesel, was this film. But let's go to another sci-fi horror film that you all know.
Hey, who was Wendy? I saw you with last night. Don't worry, Dave. All we want to do is kill you.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, released in 1988, directed by Steven Chiodo, who also did The Uncle Creepy Returns. This is his other film he directed, as well as the special effects. Chiodo's known for special effects. He did it on Alien Abduction. He did the special effects and cinematography for Elf, the Will Ferrell film, which I thought was interesting. Also for Critters 1, 2, 3, and 4, and Team America, World Police. He was the puppeteer supervisor, which I thought was awesome. This film stars Grant Kramer, Suzanne Snyder, Josh Allen Nelson, John Version, and Michael S. Siegel, along with Peter Lucchese. The movie had a budget of $2 million. Tell me why you picked this one.
I wish like every movie we talk about, it's like somebody had shown it to me when I was at an age where, I mean, this movie again it introduces to me at the age of 10, 11, or 12, and you're like, wow, man. I mean, and again, where are the sequels to this movie? I mean, we got 17 Tremors. Couldn't we got like one more Killer Clowns or something? But no, we did not get the Killer Clowns part 2. But what we did do is get this version, and this one and only version is probably one of my favorite. I don't know if I'd even call it a horror movie. I just call it a cool movie. But they're definitely monsters, and they're definitely from outer space, but it's more in the term of like fun. um to me, I think the first thing that blew me away was the whole cotton candy, when they wrap them up in the cotton candy, and then you're like they're drinking, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna bring them up. I'm probably gonna bring them up a million more times, but just my dad. They're using the straws to drink up the blood. This is so cool. And I'd be like, wow, they are. This is awesome. And like you're 10, 11 years old seeing that. And it's, you now know, and you can compare things like with graphics and FX and stuff like that. But honestly, the FX in this movie hold up. They still hold up today. They're not dated to me. They're not. They seem to be right on par for what they were going for. And honestly, there's just so much to this movie that I love. I love the humor in the movie. I love just there's just so much of it in it.
For me? Oh, shit. Is this from you?
Again, I like the playful nature in the movie. It took creativity to come up with a lot, like the popcorn that is in the hamper that turns into more monsters. Like there's a creativity in this movie. We've talked about the song Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I think it's just another great entry to a great movie.
The Dickies.
Yeah, just awesome movie.
Yeah, this film, basically every clown stereotype you can think of is a weapon used by the clowns. You already mentioned the popcorn, that basically turns into like alien monster clowns. You know, they turned people into cotton candy so they can drink the blood or the juice out of them, which I thought was hilarious. They walked. One of the funny things is how a clown had like the fake invisible dog. They actually had that in here where they chase people with them with the fake invisible dogs.
Making balloon animals.
Yeah, you kill them by popping their noses. In terms of like the suits that are worn by the actors that play the clowns, some of them are outdated. Like the part where they do the little boxing thing where the guy punches his head off. You can see like the suit, the mask in the back of his head. Like you can tell it's a mask. But you know, some of the parts were very innovative, like the shadow where he does the finger puppets with the shadows, where he has the people like that was pretty cool. Where you had the Tyrannosaurus Rex eat the people. My favorite part of this film, besides the clowns, is the Terenzi brothers. Their ice cream truck. The Terenzi brothers. And I love the big final battle with the big clown at the end. Just awesome stuff to go. You know, this kind of gotten the resurgence within the past year or so with the Killer Clowns from Outer Space game that has come out. I haven't been able to play that. Have you, Tone?
No, I haven't. But you go to any Halloween shop now, and like one of the main 3 movies they're running out there for stuff, and they're selling purses, rugs, which I have over here is a rug. But is just a bunch of cool stuff. And honestly, it seems that people are watching a lot of Killer Clowns. And you were talking earlier, we were talking with Keelin of awesome movie posters. If you're looking on the screen, this was one that I always enjoyed when I saw the movie box, and it's like the clown's hand is spinning the planet on his finger. And it's just I think it's a great fun movie and original, very original.
Yeah, definitely original. You know, the Steve Chioda, who has his own company, basically branched off to do other horror films, as he just showed off his skills for his designs and special effects, which I thought was done pretty well. And they some of them are outdated, and some still look good. But still a hilarious film that I will watch any day of the week. Mooney, the guy who is a complete asshole cop who gets turned into a ventriloquist dummy.
John Vernon, which thank
Yeah.
you for picking his quote, because honestly, I was over here laughing because he's great. He's great in the movie.
Yeah, he is awesome in the film. But if you haven't seen this one, check this one out. It's definitely worth your time. Total 80s, but totally worth it. And I hope they never make a remake of it.
Please don't.
Yeah, because it's one of those time capsule movies that need to be stay as it is.
Yes.
But excellent pick, Tone. I saw it on the list. I laughed.
Thank you. Thank you. I had to sneak it in here.
All right, let's get to our next one, my man.
All right.
It's got a low grain load, so it won't tumble. Ought to be pretty accurate.
Oh, well, shit, it's just a gag. I mean, what the heck are you gonna shoot a 44 bullet at anyway? Made out of silver.
How about a werewolf?
1985's Silver Bullet, directed by David Addis, who also did episodes of Miami Vice, Beauty and the Beast, 21 Jump Street, Melrose Place, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., Bruce Campbell, and Beverly Hills 90210. The film stars Gary Busey, Everett McGill, Corey Haim, Megan Follows, Terry O'Quinn, and Kent Broadhurst. We had a budget of $7 million and a box office of $12 million. This is one of my picks. I love the Cycle of the Werewolf short story by Stephen King, and I always loved this film, Silver Bullet. It's creepy. It has a great, again, I did the American Werewolf in London today, which is known for a transformation scene of the werewolf. This one I think has a good one. It's not on that level, but it does a great deep transformation scene at the end of the film, which I thought was awesome. You kind of feel a little bit for the werewolf in this film, Kent Broadhurst's Reverend in this film, and you kind of feel that he's kind of a guy who's just kind of stuck with this, doesn't know what to do. But Corey Haim kind of pisses him off really bad to the point where he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna kill him." But I think the star of this whole movie is Gary Busey as Uncle Ned. Me and my brother still laugh at the part where he's like drunk and he's like, "Piss on the Yankees, piss on the Reds." just that part always cracks me up. And he was an awesome uncle to a kid who was paralyzed from the waist down. But just an awesome film. I thought they did a great job of transferring King's story to film and making it creepy for an 80s film. And this is like this has blood in it, but it's not as gory as most werewolf films are. And I think it kind of does like a nice little blend, so it can be towards a younger audience, even though it's rated R, but you can still show it to a younger audience. It's a great, great film. What do you think of this one, Tone?
I mean, classic. I love this movie a lot. I used to love a lot, actually, thinking about it since you brought it up, because I never really thought about just the whole werewolf transformations. In this movie, you stated American Werewolf in London. I love that movie a lot. Even in Monster Squad, the transformation in the phone booth, Howling has a good transformation. But again, this movie to me is classic 80s to the T. Gary Busey's great. You got a Corey in it. I like the narration by his sister in the movie. It really gives it almost like another kind of like because the movie doesn't really feel 80s. I know it is 80s, but it gives it something a little bit more, maybe even 70s, a little bit more, feels a little bit more like Cujo feels than it does like Killer Clowns when they're closer in the same year. I like the idea of his silver bullet. His wheelchair was awesome. The design, as you stated, a real cool uncle. As a kid, and even watching like it with my dad and like understanding that, Gary Busey is not looked upon as the parents as like, we think he's a cool uncle because he actually is a really cool uncle. But the parents are like, oh, he drinks too much or he, does this. But when you follow the movie and you follow how he sticks with them through the whole entire time, it's actually really awesome. That whole fight scene at the end is great. I always laugh. For some reason, my favorite scene that I laugh the most is when they go into the garage and they find the bat. The way that Yeah, the way the arm looks when it goes up like this and it just comes down the first time, like it's classic. The movie is Everett McGill to me. As you stated, I do feel like you said sorry for him. But there's when the one guy goes and he's talking to him about when his son dies or whatever.
Yeah, it's
He's like,
Kent Broadhurst. Yeah.
yeah, and the way his just really good acting for this movie for what
Torn
they're
apart.
doing. Yeah, he was torn apart.
Yeah, and the part where he has a dream and when they're all turned to werewolves.
Yeah, they're like,
the crazy part is the guy who played the bar owner who had the peacemaker was Lawrence Tierney.
Yeah.
Who is legit, like a legit badass dude. But my favorite part from that scene leading up to it is when that old man's like, "Oh," and the lady's like, "Are you gonna make lemonade in your pants?" "I'm not scared. Let's go." But yeah, totally. It's memorable. It still holds up today. I really like this film. I would eventually would like to show this to my son. Like I watched this when I was like 13, maybe younger, about maybe 10 or 11. But like I just like King. This is like one of King's best adaptations, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean the sister again when she's going around and she's looking for stuff and she's in the garage and she's digging through the stuff or whatever, and then he appears like, "Hello, Jane," and he like turns around. He just got a good voice.
Yeah.
'Cause he's right. He's the one in the People Under the Stairs too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean he's in a couple other things. He does a good job.
Yeah, come inside for a cold drink. You look tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome, awesomely creepy. If you haven't seen this one, check out Silver Bullet. It's totally worth your time. A great, great great werewolf story. But let's go into our final one, my man.
Let's do it.
Okay. Need a root beer?
Wait, that's right. There's another tradition. Very important.
Always check your candy.
2007's Trick or Treat, directed by Michelle Daltrey, who did Krampus and Godzilla King of the Monsters. The movie stars Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, Dylan Baker, Rochelle Eitz, Quinn Lord, Lauren Lee Smith, Monica Dealin, and Tamith Pinnickett. God, these names are just ridiculous for me. Had a budget of $12 million with $27K in the box office. That was surprising to me. But it had $12.6 million in home market sales. Tell me why you picked this one.
I don't even remember this movie at the movie theater. I only remember it because it was like after a while, people were like, "Have you seen this movie?" And I was like, they're like, "It's an anthology movie," and we've talked about the anthology horror movies. I was like, "Really?" And then I looked at some of the people in it, and I was like, "Okay, I'll give this a watch." I thought again it was an original, all around affair. The stories were great. Brian Cox is amazing in this movie. Sam is another great character that I'm seeing popping up like the killer clowns from outer space. You see it all over the place. To me, there was a lot of there's a lot of creepiness in the movie. Where I think some of that too, like the scene with the story with the bus that goes underwater. I like the way all the stories intertwine. Like you find out that Brian Cox is actually the bus driver to the kids when he put them into the water. Like everyone something is connected to the other stories because they're all actually neighbors too on the block. A really cool original, I think, just original movie affair as far as in the recent years of an anthology. I've tried to watch like VHS or something like that. Didn't get into as much as I got into this one.
Yeah, VHS, it kind of threw me off because I couldn't get into VHS either. I tried. I'll try again. I try every year to get into it. I just really can't. It just doesn't connect with me. But this film, I thought connected with me a lot. It's because I love the fact that all the stories are intertwined. Like you see, in some of the stories as they progress, you see some of the earlier ones, like in the background, or when they do the surprise party one, you could see like the Sam in the background walking around back there.
Yes.
You know, it's just create the character of Sam, which was from a short, you know, and he got big through this movie. Brian Cox as the bus driver and the bad guy that kind of gets his ass kicked by Sam. You know, it
Mhm.
kind of plays on the tradition, and it has a big wraparound story, a filler that starts off in the movie and then ends at the end. And this movie's kind of told like going back and showing what happened before that. But it has great stories, great gore, you know, a traditional Halloween movie. This movie should get more praise than it does. It's a great anthology film, you know, and I'm glad that it's been rented out more and people are starting to learn about it more. But like just because creating some iconic character in Sam there.
Dylan Baker, the clip you played there, he does a great job in this movie too. Just again, Anna Paquin and the witch story is another good one. There wasn't, like I said, and what's cool too is it's like only an hour and 20 minutes. It's not a long movie at all either. And I'm sure we'll talk about some point during Christmas, maybe Christmas horror movies, something along those lines. I love Krampus. So, like, to me, this is again a great prelude to what I saw in Krampus. It's a good all around, I think, good anthology movie.
Yeah. I always cracks me up. The guy from Spider-Man kills people with candy bars.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dylan Baker. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Baker, the guy from Spider-Man kills people with
Yeah,
candy
yeah.
bars.
Yep.
Are you listening to me, Parker? Peter's lucky he didn't get a candy bar from him. But definitely check this one out. It's a great anthology film. Has a lot of good horror in it. Original stories. I love everything about this film. It's
Good
awesome.
one. It's a good
A
one.
lot of twists in it as well.
That's what I like. I like twists. Give me anything with twists, and I'll like it. With a twist. Like
Beverly Hills Cop. You want that with a twist? All right, that's our 10 films. Let us know if we missed any ones that you haven't heard of, or let us know if there's some films that got you thinking about watching them. With that tone, before we even go on to Sugar Baggy's soundtrack pick of the week, we are going to go to Coming Soon. So we got some extended fun for you guys. So for Coming Soon tone, let's go straight into that.
Let's do it.
And let everybody know what is coming soon to the show, my friend.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Coming soon.
Próximamente.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Next Friday is November 1st. Now, it is the beginning of the month of Thanksgiving, which we're going to get to in that. But generally, after you eat your Thanksgiving meal, you have leftovers. Well, we're going to have the leftovers on October 1st because we're going to eat. We're going to not eat. That was silly. We're going to have 5 and 5 of our leftover horror movies that maybe we did not get to in any category. It could be maybe Friday the 13th, Manhattan, you know, or it may be, you just don't know. You know, I could just start naming House 17 if they even made House 17. But that being said, it's going to be cool because we're going to get to, you know, it might be Clint Howard in the Ice Cream Man. That was a classic. You know, you just don't know. But we love horror, and why even get away with it? It's only one day after Halloween. Imagine if the show was on Halloween. We're going to imagine it is next Friday with the leftovers of Halloween.
Yep. So you guys get an extra week of horror stuff. So be sure to look out for that. Really looking forward to that, to give some stuff that we haven't looked at. I'll try to pull out some more obscure films.
Oh yeah.
To see if I can, that we haven't talked about yet. I really love doing the horror. You know, if I could talk horror all the time, I would. I think it's but I'd like to do it.
Well, what's cool about, I think what we really did really awesome is we can do these, and then as we do back to the films, we could always sprinkle in a horror movie. Like I would love to break down Tremors. I mean, that would be a great one to break down. You know what I mean? Like things like that. That's why, honestly, I just want to thank you again for always having a great time on the show, because there is no a push and a pull. It's literally you send me the list and I look down and I go, I love these movies. And I know, you know, for the most part, you probably do the same thing. So it's not like, Oh man, no, I don't want to talk about this. This sucks. This is gonna be a waste. So thank you, Yump. It's a great time.
Same to you, my man.
Thank you.
It's all about having fun and decompressing for the week.
It sure is. I mean, honestly, it is, and it's a great time.
So before we go into the Sugar Baggies pick of the week, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. Be sure to check out SadisticPenguinStudios.com, where Tony's been dropping awesome blogs every day with Halloween related songs. Today you dropped one with the Man in Black, Johnny Cash, which is awesome. I try to read them every morning when they come out. He's been doing 31 blogs in 31 days. And also, Tone, you had the hookup on music today. That it's a precursor to our Friday fun. Tell us what happened on today's show.
We went through some more Halloween type of stuff. Like we went through some Oingo Boingo, who had some really amazing Halloween shows. We also talked about the sad passing of Phil Lesh of the Grateful Dead, which we're going to get into later a little bit more too. But a lot of good new music. Please go and listen and check it out. It was a really awesome episode, and actually excited right now to share our next thing here.
Yes. Before we get to that, be sure to check out the 31 Days of Horror on YouTube, which I release a horror film review every day, a mini review every day for the month of October. Also, be sure to check out Getting Drafty in here with Magnificent Stan, aka Brian. He just released an episode with Dougie from the Bums, Joey P from the Bums, and who else was on that one? I'm missing one.
It was what's his new? He's never been on there before. Oh, what?
Well, it wasn't Sean, was it?
I think it was. Yes, it was Sean.
No, it was Shankster. Shankster was on there. I'm sorry, it was Shankster. Shankster was on there. Yeah, with Shankster, they did a little the smaller people in wrestling 225-pound draft and below. Good show. And then this Tuesday, you're gonna have two people from that were currently on this show on Getting Drafty in here with Magnificent Stan's gonna be myself and Keelin will be drafting horror movie villains at 8 p.m., which is gonna be pretty good. So
Very awesome. That's gonna be a good show. It's very exciting.
Keelan's a big horse, so I'm gonna be up. It's gonna be a tough challenge, Sean, with Keelin.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. So be sure to check them out. Thanks again for watching, and with further ado, Tone, let's get into the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, my friend.
The Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week.
2 years ago, when I was doing a show called The Hookup on Film, I reached out to Keelin, and I was like, Keelin, you got to come on the show. She came on the show. The gentleman I was working with, he had no interest in horror movies. She had interest, so I asked her to pick some horror movies. She came on. One of the movies she picked that I love, and it could have been actually picked tonight as one of the movies. It is The Faculty, which is a great movie with a great soundtrack. If you're not familiar, that was a one-time off spin-off band only on this soundtrack called Class of 99 with Tom Morello on lead guitar, Lane Staley of Alice in Chains on vocals, and just a bunch of other awesome people playing on that track together. But along with that, I talked about tonight The Offspring. They were on the soundtrack. Also on the soundtrack is a lot of other very interesting, an interesting cover by Creed doing Alice Cooper's I'm 18. Sheryl Crow's on there, which is very interesting to be mixed up with those other bands that I just mentioned. But a really cool soundtrack for, to me, a great Robert Rodriguez movie that, again, doesn't get talked about enough because it's really cool in a lot of different ways.
Excellent pick, my friend. I love this film. It's one of the high school horror films that came out. It has an all-star cast and Josh Hartnett, Frankie Jensen, and Salma Hayek. Usher's in this film. Jon Stewart's in this film.
Jon Stewart has one of the greatest lines in film history. He looks over, and we probably quoted this all the time in high school. He looks over at Robert Patrick and he goes, "The coach looks thirsty," because he keeps drinking from the water thing. It's just so awesome. Such an awesome.
And also, even though it didn't, like the CGI didn't age well, I always thought the when he goes to the football field and he sees the coach and all them with all the parasites coming out of their face, that was always pretty cool.
It is.
That part. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Faculty, definitely check it out. The soundtrack is awesome. What you were saying, when you brought up Tom Morello, I could not help but think about Mrs. Beefloaf, who cannot stand Tom Morello's Street Sweeper band. One Man Revolution. She cannot. She gets so upset about it. But I love Tom Morello. I'm a huge Rage fan. And I love.
I will actually have to concur and agree with her because I went and visited a buddy in California and I saw Jane's Addiction and Nine Inch Nails, and they opened up for them, and it was not the Tom Morello that I know and love. I mean, I love Audio Slave. It just sounded different, but what's cool is they don't do this very often, but you'd think of, honestly, this is probably the very last thing that the singer from Alice in Chains did before he passed away. And this song is great because you're doing Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 by Pink Floyd. Just a cool, again, late 90s soundtrack.
Yep. And I remember this film being all over MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah.
So great pick, Tom. Great pick, my man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So that is our show for this week. We talked some horror movies, some movie monsters you might have not known of. We had a great soundtrack of the week by Tony, but for the Faculty, thank you again to Keelin for coming on and talking about House and also giving us her perspective on the Smile 2 film. Be sure to head over to statisticpenguinstudios.bigcartel.com to buy a shirt for our man Gordo. It's going to help him with his medical bills. All the proceeds go to him. Again, I'll drop the link in the chat here if you're watching us live. If not, there will be a link to YouTube. And if Tony, if you could throw that on the link for the podcast drop as well, that would be awesome. To help out Gordo, he's going to need some help, guys. He had some medical issues, some health issues, and he's going to have some big medical bills coming up. So anything for a great guy like Gordo. If you guys know him, he's awesome. Funny dude and a big supporter of our show and our thing. And thank you everyone for watching us this week. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this, and we're happy to bring a little bit of movie talk for your week.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?